Oh, we are live. It's Tuesday Night Live.
D-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Well, here we are live on Tuesday night about the law. Attorney Andrew Myers here and California Attorney Yoli Medina. Yoli, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. Wow, it's like summer here on the East Coast. The 80-degree temperatures all of a sudden came back. And here we are almost in October. It'll be October in 7 hours.
It's actually cooler here.
Is it?
Yeah.
Crazy. It's crazy how that works.
Mm-hmm.
So, here we are. There's a lot going on in a lot of different cases, but I titled this one, The Karen Read Case, Does It Really Matter? And there's a reason for that. Of course the case matters. That Karen and her family, her father and mother, who I've spoken to, and to her incredibly talented team of attorneys who have worked so hard to get acquittals in 2 different criminal trials, and now the new group of attorneys that are supporting her in her civil trial. So it does matter to a lot of people. So the reason for the title, Does It Matter, is really to put it in perspective, to put it in a historical perspective. What will people think in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, looking back at the events that happened in the Karen Read trial? So and we're going to get to that, but I don't know. Do you have any initial thoughts, Yoli?
Well, historically, I mean, this case, and along with the Cobberger case, were the 2 biggest cases that were circling around in the past 2.5 years, and social media was heavily involved in those 2 cases. So historically, like back in the 1920s, that wasn't the case. Journalism was a lot slower. People didn't get information as fast. So all the dramas play out now almost immediately.
Yeah, that's true. Although it seems that people, even as recently as the 90s maybe, were more tuned into journalists, print journalists and TV journalists, because that was it. That was all there was. And so people would grab the tabloid or the broadsheet, and they would grab that, and the headlines would scream out at you. And there wasn't a lot you could do about it, though. You'd write a letter to the editor, and if you were lucky, if they even printed it, like maybe once every 10 years. But now you're right. Everything is more immediate, and there's a lot of drama. It's unfortunate that there is drama as we speak between Turtle Boy and Karen Read. It started or was aggravated when Alan Jackson and Karen Read made their first interview together on the Howie Carr Show in Boston at WRKO. And it's just kind of been exacerbated, and we're going to stay out of it. I mean, there's no reason for us to jump into it. Hopefully it'll settle down. But I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of tension out there, and a lot of YouTubers are either taking sides or... Before we went on, I was watching Mike Crawford at The Young Jerks, who was our first guest on our first live, about a month ago. And he was saying, hey, we just want to stay out of it. I like both of them. I've talked to both, worked with both, tried to be objective, and he just wants to stay out of it. So,
Yeah. And my opinion is that I was interested in the Karen Read case. I got interested because of you. And as far as I'm concerned, they found her not guilty. And I'm just...
Twice.
Yeah, twice. And I'm interested in the civil case to see what happens with that. And I really do feel badly for John O'Keefe's family. and I do feel bad for what Karen Reed has gone through. It just seems like it was just unfair on both sides.
Yeah, and there are a lot of other associated cases, as our commenter Tirdad Derakashali. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Please forgive me. I'm just reading this stuff cold. Given what's happened in the Francis Choi case, Massachusetts injustice is very much in the news. Karen Reed, Sandra Birchmore, Aidan Kearney, and to that list, I would also add the Walsh case. He's entitled to his presumption of innocence until found guilty, but there have been some questionable things that have happened with respect to the prosecution's real drive to drill down to get information. So
it's unfortunate that Francis Choi case really started coming out. I've seen a lot of people talking about that now. The two prosecutors that are getting disciplined, which is.
Yeah, the one I think we broke the news. I think we were the first ones to talk about it. We recorded our episode on that on Friday, and then because it was in the Massachusetts Lawyers Weekly, we dropped that episode on Saturday. Then it was in the Herald. It was in the Boston Herald. And I think a lot of people commented that, this young woman did 17 years in jail, and the two prosecutors who refused to, divulge evidence in the case, those two prosecutors, one is being recommended to be suspended for a year, and the other one, I think, less than that. So
yeah, well, it's very unfortunate. I mean, I don't know why it's so hard for prosecutors or people who work for the government to do their job properly, to do it honestly. They're on a government salary. It's not like they're going to make more money if they win the case or lose the case. It's all about optics, right? They don't want to have to lose a case that they brought. But I think it goes back to just understanding what you need to prosecute a case and how high the burden is. And I don't know.
Yeah, there's just so much pressure on them to get a conviction. They want to get a conviction. That's how they feel their job is, even though ethically they're bound to, find the truth. They're ethically bound to find the truth and disclose the truth. And so that's why they're recommended to get these suspensions. But we have Scott McGinnis. I found it hilarious that the ADA in the Walsh case filed a buffer zone motion for Dedham, and is DA Meatball Morrissey that afraid of more bad press? Well, I don't know. Brenna O'Brien is a regular. She's here. She says she worries that this could lead to witness intimidation. I know the Commonwealth is still trying to go after her and Turtle Boy. And she then says, Cam, Denver is awesome. And that stems from Cam Miller saying, hello from New York. My sister is a criminal attorney in Denver. All right. So it's great. We love having our commenters here. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And let's I want to move on to some comments that I wrote. Tiradad Derakashani said, the Mass State Police claims it has a 90% clear rate in murder cases. There is no way that's done with honesty. The national average is about 60%. All right. And Debbie Hucker says, hi from the UK. World is twisted, gone crazy, no real justice. Debbie from the UK, we have news for you. And I was going to wait until the end. But UK YouTube star Harsh Reality has agreed to be our guest next Tuesday night on Tuesday Night Live. So we're looking forward to that. Harsh Reality, who has been good to our channel. He's sent some of his people over to us, and so I'm looking forward to that.
I hope he does come on.
Well, he said he would.
Okay.
He said he would, and he's a decent guy. I've gone back and forth with him, not necessarily on channel, but we've emailed back and forth. I've had questions about the UK, and so we've maintained some communication over time. And before I launch into my blog article, Scott McGinnis also says nobody would be protesting on Walsh's behalf, but people could be out there protesting DA Meatball Morrissey's state police detective goon squad that were involved in the Walsh case, namely Proctor. I think what they're worried about is not so much, Walsh, but there may be hearings in other cases at that time that could cause issues. And so, you know what? That could be a problem.
Yeah, he's. I mean, his credibility is going to be brought into question. I'm sure that's fair game.
I like seeing Donna Lembo in here, and she says, so cool to see Harsh. Yep, he recommended your channel to me when you first started, and that's true, because we were nothing. We're a little bit more than nothing now. We just hit... yesterday, we just hit 31,000 subscribers. So as long as I'm talking about that, please go down below and click the like button. That helps us with the algorithm, and it also will help us if you will subscribe. We don't sell coffee mugs. We don't sell T-shirts. We don't huckster anything at all. I've been approached by potential sponsors that they want to, put ads. No, There's already, if you don't have premium YouTube, you already get enough ads. And so we have resisted the people that want to advertise. All we ask you to do is go down and subscribe. And it's free. So also go over to Yoli's channel. So now, here's why I came up with the title for this live, which is, does the Karen Read case really matter? And like I said before, the Karen Read case absolutely matters to her family, matters to her loved ones, it matters to her, and it matters to a whole lot of people, her legal team. But in the context in Massachusetts, you know what? Nuh-uh. And here's why. Massachusetts is the state, talking about court cases that are crazy, Massachusetts is the state that burned witches at the stake after sham trials in Salem. In the 1920s, the same Norfolk County Superior Courthouse in Dedham, Massachusetts, Sacco and Vanzetti, Italian immigrants and atheists, were sentenced to death, then executed in the electric chair. After they were put to death, there were many legitimate questions about the prosecution, whether people were anti-immigrant, anti-Italian. And after they were put to death in the electric chair in Charlestown, just north of Boston, someone else confessed to the crime. In the 1930s, Boston Mayor Curley was reelected from a jail cell. He served part of his term as mayor from the jail cell. In the
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
So do you think that what's going on now in Massachusetts regarding, like the Sarah Birchmore, Karen Read, the Carney case, do you think that is like historically genetic thing, that way back it was due to the Salem, but way back there was the Salem witch trials? And do you think that has just been the culture in Massachusetts throughout?
I hadn't thought about that far. All I'm saying here is that there's just been such a parade of headlines about corruption in Massachusetts that the average person in Massachusetts, outside of, people that watch the daily news and watch YouTube, the average person is just burned out by it all. And the Karen Read thing, I've talked to people that they don't want to talk about it. Here on YouTube, we all care. We're passionate about what we do. We read, we think, we talk, we analyze. But outside of that, the people of Massachusetts, in my experience, are just so burned out by it all that they're saying, And so that's my thought today. Where did I stop here? Here we go.
1970s.
Yeah, in the 1970s, two Massachusetts state senators, Joseph DiCarlo of Revere and Ronald McKenzie of Burlington, served prison time after being convicted of extortion for taking kickbacks on contracts for the construction of the University of Massachusetts campus buildings in Dorchester. And Dorchester, for people that don't know, is just part of Boston. It's just south of the city.
But hey, they served prison time.
Yeah, about a year. About a year or 15 months, I forget, but that's about it. In the 1970s, Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis openly issued identification numbers which suspiciously appeared a lot like Social Security numbers, and he issued these to immigrants who did not have status, despite the law that such numbers are only lawfully issued by the Social Security Administration. Fast forward to the 90s. In the 80s, everybody was listening to disco. In the 90s, a Massachusetts congressman and former mayor of Peabody earned the nickname Nicky Pockets for pocketing various payments. He pled guilty to 15 counts of bribery, racketeering, and extortion, and was sentenced to 15-month prison term. So, and a lot of people still remember Nicky Pockets. I forget who I was talking to just the other day on a case, and we were talking about Karen Reed, and they pointed out to me, yeah, but do you remember Nicky Pockets? So, yeah. Massachusetts. My point is that Massachusetts has a long history, and the corruption in the district attorney's office that caused them to try this case with blindfolds on once, and then when she was acquitted of the two major charges, when none of the paid prosecutors in the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office would, and it's a fact, none of them would try the case. They went outside and hired Hank Brennan, who we're going to hear about in a minute, and they paid him $466,000 to lose the case. The case of James Cater, which I've talked about in other episodes, was tried 4 times, and only after 22 years was he convicted of and murdering a 15-year-old girl, Mary Lou Aruda. Horrible, horrible case. And this is the case that I refer to sometimes when people say, oh, we need closure. There's no closure, because the day that Mr. Cater was finally convicted, a reporter asked Mary Lou Aruda's mother, and at that point she would have been in her 30s, well, how do you feel about that there's closure? She said, there's no closure. My girl's not here. Yeah. I remember her as a 15-year-old girl, and now she's in her 30s. Took the judicial system 22 years and bouncing up and down through the appellate system. There's no closure.
No.
And we go on, lest you think we were anywhere near done. The Massachusetts, and you might have heard about this one, the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab falsified drug lab tests when lab director Annie Ducan was convicted, and the false drug tests were proven. Approximately 61,000 drug convictions were overturned. Yeah, I read that right. 61,000 drug convictions in Massachusetts were overturned because the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab head was phoning up the tests, and there was no oversight. That case was so outrageous that Netflix actually produced an episode titled "How to Fix a Drug Case."
And wasn't the lab person who was in the lab, wasn't she addicted to drugs?
That was a second person, yeah. Yeah, there was a second person in the western part of Massachusetts that was actually doing the drugs. There were test samples in the laboratory in containers, and she was actually doing the drugs. Yeah. So did you see that? Did you see How to Fix a Drug Case?
I did, but for some reason I'm thinking that it was the one where the lab person was on the drugs, was out of control.
Both of them. They were both involved. Yeah. The head of the Massachusetts crime lab in Framingham, Annie Ducan, was the primary person that caused the problem. But no, you're right. The other one was also a part of it, and she was also featured in the Netflix. So yeah, it was 2 different people, but it was involved in the same kind of case. And if you haven't seen How to Fix a Drug Case, I highly recommend it. And you know how often, we and other commenters and people on YouTube say, well, the Massachusetts taxpayers must be upset. Oh, how can, the district attorney went outside the paid staff on the Norfolk County District Attorney's staff and paid, Hank Brennan $466,000 $100,000, and the Aperture, Blue Man tube guys, I forget how much, but more than Hank. So they spent $1.5 million in the prosecution of Karen Reed, and people. YouTubers and commenters have said, well, it's on the taxpayers. It's on the taxpayers. Guess what? In my experience, the taxpayers of Massachusetts really could care less. Massachusetts taxpayers generally have no history of holding government accountable. When the advocates of a tax reform measure known as Prop 2.5, Barbara Anderson and Jim Braude proposed a successful referendum to cap local annual budget increases to 2.5%. They were roundly ridiculed. Local governments responded by intentionally taking retaliatory actions, like shutting down local fire stations and parks, instead of actually reviewing budgets. So, the taxpayers in Massachusetts, they really haven't shown a real support for holding their government accountable. And a lot of Massachusetts people, like me, moved just over the border to southern New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So our second to final event here is good old Whitey Bulger, an FBI informant, ran free in South Boston and elsewhere, causing the murders of numerous enemies or perceived enemies. There have been all kinds of movies and books, and I recommend them all. We're thinking about doing an episode, and we've had commenters tell us that they'd like us to do that, so we'll do that. When law enforcement finally decided to arrest Whitey Bulger, the head of the corrupt Boston FBI office, John Connolly, tipped Whitey off, and he jumped the jurisdiction, only to be found 16 years later in Santa Monica, California, in your neck of the woods.
My
your
area.
neck of the woods. Yeah. I'm sure you didn't have anything to do with it, but now John Connolly, who had been the head of the FBI, and people think the FBI is like the be-all and end-all. The Boston office, read about it. Don't take it from me, but Connolly, the former head of the Boston FBI office, was later convicted and imprisoned in Florida on a murder charge. Attorney Hank Brennan unsuccessfully defended Whitey's brother. Now, this is the unbelievable part, as though that stuff is not enough. Whitey's brother, William Bulger, had been the Massachusetts Senate president for years. His other brother, John, had been a Massachusetts district court clerk. He was a court clerk, and he was convicted of lying to a grand jury about claiming no knowledge of the whereabouts of his brother.
Goodness.
And the other thing about Billy Bulger, I met him once. I was shocked. I was just walking down the street, and he was standing outside of a very nice restaurant, waiting for his limo. And I just couldn't believe it. I just walked over to him and said, "Hello, Mr. Bulger." He said, "Why, hi there." And he shook hands and looked away. He wanted nothing to. We shook hands, and he turned his head and walked away. He wanted nothing to do with this stranger who walked up to him. But anyway, I digress as usual. The thing about William Bulger, though, after his tenure as a heavy-handed Massachusetts Senate president, he then became university president for the university system of Massachusetts and did that for many years, many years. There are other cases. There are many other cases, and I'm sure that our commenters who are familiar with Massachusetts will remind me of them, and that's fine because I'll publish this blog article. But fast forwarding a few years and looking back with all of the above, my thoughts are that the Karen Reed debacle will make no difference. She had great attorneys. The first trial was a train wreck, with the judge failing to properly poll the jury to discover their acquittal of Reed on two of the major charges against her. In the second trial, Reed was acquitted of all major charges, but only after prosecution expert witnesses lied about their credentials and performed questionable accident reenactments. But in the context of Massachusetts history, really, sad to say, what difference does it all make? What difference does it make?
Well, I think one of the differences is what difference does it make? I don't know, but do I care about the Karen Reed case? Yes. Do I know what to do to fix this? No. But it's good to bring it to light and talk about it, because that may cause people in the know, or people who have the ability to do something about it, to move and do something about it. I mean, it's very unfortunate. Sometimes I want to go into politics for that very reason, but no, I won't.
Oh, I've thought about it, but having observed politics for the many years I did, partially as a reporter and partially knowing people that are in it, yeah, I have no interest.
Right.
Here's a good comment from Scott McGinnis. Says Michael Morrissey has been in various elected state offices since 1977, and that's true. Meatball was first elected to state rep when he was 22 years old. And then here's Brian. Brian Jr.'s Frozen Donut. Frozen donuts. I like fresh donuts. Black Mass was great. Good movie. What's crazy is Depp as Whitey was a spitting image to my paternal grandfather. LOL. Wild stuff. I feel bad for your grandfather. Let's see. What else do we have? Yeah, the FBI agent, John Connolly, got something like 40 years. Wild case. Scott McGinnis is really on top of all of this. Massachusetts votes blue, no matter who. Since the late 1950s, all the rest of the government scandals mean little from there. And that's true. It's funny. The entire time I've been paying attention to Massachusetts politics over decades, the state house and the state senate are solidly blue. But there were, before the current governor, there was a solid string of Republican governors. There was Bill Weld, there was Ed King, there was Mitt Romney. So for whatever reason, Massachusetts voters go to the polls and they vote for Democrats across the board. And they always go Democrat in the presidential elections, as far as I can remember. But for whatever reason, until the current governor, they've often had Republican governors. Something I don't really understand, but I guess they're just in the back of their head saying, well, there's got to be some check or balance. But and I don't want to get too deep into it, but the composition of the Massachusetts government is such that the Senate president has an awful lot of power. And what the House and the Senate do pretty much force the governor's hand, unless the governor, wants to be, a real prick and shut the state government down. So, Laurie Ballou says the same thing you did. I do care, but I don't know how to fix it. Ironically, Annie Ducan went to MCI State Prison in Framingham. Yeah, right down the street from her old digs in the Mass State Police Crime Lab. Let's see.
I wanted to say something. In terms of crime, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh.
In terms of crime?
In terms of crime, I don't know that it can be divided as a, conservative or liberal point of view. I think it largely has to do with mental illness. But, when you have people like Karen Reed, where many people just don't see it. In other words, I'm looking for proof. I'm looking for I'm a lawyer. I look for causation. I look for, whether this happened, a duty, did it happen? And when you can't prove that something actually happened, like a collision, well, I have to admit that, and say no. But other people just don't understand, or they don't like Karen Reed and they want to say she's guilty. I don't know what it is, but from the very beginning, I never thought that they could prosecute the case of Karen Reed successfully. But that was my
No, you're right. And they had to go outside of the district attorney's office. They had to go outside because none of the staff attorneys would try the case. And they knew that they really wanted to give Adam Lally a break because that didn't work out so well. Although in retrospect, he didn't do such a bad job. But they had to go outside and they hired Brennan for $466,000 ultimately. And look what happened. I mean, it was just, Here's a good comment from Full Melt Hash Values. Police and systemic corruption are things we need to pay attention to, and I want Karen to be righted for having been framed by these people and those responsible to face justice. I think we all feel that way, but I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. Scott McGinnis again wants. I want D.A. Morrissey and his corrupt squad of detectives hauled away to federal prison. Secondly, the actual killers of John O'Keefe arrested and charged, convicted. I think that's a common thread that a lot of people feel that way, especially having watched, both of the Karen Reed trials and now seeing what happened in the Brian Walsh case. Now, that should have been a slam dunk. Yes, presumption of innocence. I always get comments down below, but the way the police handled that is questionable. Just the awful way in which they've pursued Aidan Kearney, it just seems to be with a vengeance, but a lack of facts is just incredible.
Yeah, and you know what? I never thought about how John O'Keefe may have passed. I only looked at what the prosecution was saying happened, and what the prosecution was saying happened didn't work with me. I couldn't see it. I never saw it, and so as to what happened, I don't know. That's all I have to say.
Well, there are a lot of theories, and I think that the defense team for Karen Reed in her civil case has a fair idea. I think they're going to be extremely aggressive. I think I saw Alan Jackson talking and showing the video from the Waterfall Bar and C.F. McCarthy's. And Brian Higgins was really out of control at one point and making gestures. And, there's also Microdots did a fantastic video showing Brian Higgins going over to the Canton Police Department. He said in his testimony he went over to move some cars, but he went inside and he was walking around and who knows what he was doing. But now we know a lot more about Brian Higgins. So I think we will learn. I think we will see what goes on. Procedurally, there's been a lot of talk about, will the Massachusetts Superior Court judge allow all of the claims, the counterclaims, the third-party claims, will he allow all of that to mesh in with what started out as a wrongful death suit with some intentional infliction of emotional distress claims attached? Will he allow all of the other claims in? Or will he say no? And at that point, will the Reed attorneys, and there were half a dozen or more of them in court the day that they had that hearing recently, will they file in state court or federal court? For the 1983 actions, I would think federal court would be a better bet, but
we'll see. I don't know. I think the 1983, the civil rights claims are probably separate, but I don't know what the judge will do.
Yeah. Like we said last time, I think it'll be, and you and I don't necessarily agree on what should happen, but I think it'll be really interesting to read the pleadings in the case when they come out. I think that'll be really fascinating, and I look forward, because I've done third-party practice and interpleader, and it's always, when the other side agrees with you, it's a good day, sort of, because the judge has to agree with you. But when the other side disagrees with you, the law is not, as with many things in the law, it's not as clear cut as one would like. So in any event,
that's why there's appeals.
yeah, and as we saw in the Karen Reed case, there were a lot of appeals. I've lost there he is. I've lost Mr. McGinnis, so I didn't know how to politely take him off the screen. So is it time for us to go to our viewer comments?
Sure.
So the first...
Go ahead. You take the odds.
Okay. All right. I'll take the odds. And so this one, the government of Massachusetts does not care about the taxpayers, even though they continually gouge the taxpayers every way possible. I think that's true.
Mark Schneider. Okay, something fishy about the huge Aperture invoice. Either that's a misprint or that needs to be looked into really close. the state police should have been called on to do that useless report for free.
You know what?
Taxpayers should be curious.
You know what? These are great comments, but I think, yeah, these are from a different.
From a different episode.
Yeah, it's from a different episode. So I need to ditch these. Although it's good for review. There's our 80 countries. We have heard comments and questions from viewers in 80 countries. So let me go and find the correct comments. So while I do that, what are your closing thoughts?
Hi, Catty Crime. She's in here, Catty Crime Girl. My closing comments about Karen Reed, it does matter. It does help to bring things to light so that people can wake up. And that's about all we can do unless you want to go into politics. I mean, seriously, I thought, like, my goodness, like I could, but nah, I'll stay away from politics. But I mean, those are my closing thoughts on this.
Yeah, politics has just become a money grab. Politics has become a money grab. How is it that people that get into Congress just, become so enriched?
Yeah, they're millionaires. They go into these Congress and senators and whatever public positions, and then they're millionaires. I mean, it's one thing to say if you were a millionaire before you started politics, but that's a different story. But I don't know. They become rich, so I don't know.
Now, I'm doing this on my laptop, and it has a little teeny tiny little screen, so I'm just struggling to get to the new viewer comments.
Say hi to CJ Catty Crime.
How's CJ doing?
I think he's moving.
Yeah?
He's busy with it, yeah.
He's been moving for 2 weeks. What's he doing, walking?
Maybe driving each item because he's so particular.
How long is it going to take him to walk from, where was he, Michigan or something, and he's going to South Carolina?
Illinois.
Oh. If it's outside Route 128, I get it
Indiana,
confused.
I'm sorry. Indiana. Sorry.
Indiana. Oh, it's an I-state. What difference does it make?
I'll send him a message and see how he's doing.
Yeah, I wanted to invite him on and talk to him about the things that have happened with the Cobberger case.
Yeah. Especially in light of the body cam footage. There was more body cam footage that came out, and he was there before the house was torn down. So I do have a lot of questions for him.
Oh, that's right. I remember his video. He actually let me use his video. He went out there, and he actually let me use his video. And
it's a lot tighter than you think, the area.
Yeah. It's a very small area. Well, it's a college town, and, the land is at a premium, and, the 1122 King Road home was kind of boxed in, and it doesn't face King Road. It faces Queen Road. It's just that the zoning board must have allowed them to have a variance to have the address onto King Road. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. Okay, I think we have the right. We have the right comments now. Yes, here we go. This is this week's comments. So what, you want evens or odds?
You take the odds.
Okay. This is Al Digital Marketing Pros, or maybe it's A1 Digital Marketing Pros. I don't know. My apologies. Right now, the plaintiffs don't have a case. If Reed's attorneys filed a motion to dismiss the whole thing, it would be dismissed. She only filed a motion to dismiss 3 counts. It is over for the plaintiffs anyways, so it either goes this way or the whole case is over. Well, I don't know. The plaintiffs don't have a case. If Reed's attorneys filed a motion to dismiss the whole thing, it would be dismissed. She only filed a motion. Well, that's because And I explained this in the comments section, Yoli, as you know, and we haven't discussed this, so correct me if I'm wrong, on a 12B6 motion to dismiss, the court only looks inside the four corners of the document. In other words, they look at the complaint and what's been alleged, and looking at the words in the document and taking all inferences in the favor of the non-moving party, they then determine whether or not a claim has been made for which there can be recovery. So, it doesn't go on the facts of the case. It just goes on the writings. It goes on what's in the pleads. So that's why the plaintiffs that's why Karen Reed's attorneys only moved to dismiss the intentional infliction of emotional distress claims. Did I
Right.
explain that? Okay.
That's right. Yeah, the emotional distress claims are the ones that they challenged, and that has to do with being in the zone of danger, and that the family was not in the zone of danger of where this occurred. But that's a whole legal argument. So that's why they're trying to get rid of those. And I believe motion for summary judgment, I don't know what it's called in Massachusetts, but it's where you provide proof by way of depositions. And that's a dispositive motion, so I don't know what will happen if the defense brings that motion.
Yeah, we call it a motion for summary judgment. It's a Massachusetts Rule of Civil Procedure 56, which tracks the federal rule, which I think is the same as yours, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The track. Oh, this is mine?
Yep.
Oh, Coastal Carolina 000. I love the point that Yoli made. Yay. I love the point that Yoli made regarding Hank Brennan coming back into the prosecutor's office to try another unethical case. If Brennan would take the KR case for the second trial when no paid prosecutor would take the case, given the amount of evidence showing that OJO was not even hit by a car, he would take a case for the money with no basis to believe that someone is guilty.
Yeah, we had asked the question, and we disagreed on this one, too. I had asked the crazy, I think that's a crazy question. What are the chances that Brennan would come in now that 2 or 3 special prosecutors in the Aiden Carney case have been forced to get off the case? So I asked the question, what are the chances? I don't think any responsible attorney would want that case for a lot of reasons. But
right.
I said, so what are the chances that Hank Brennan would come in? I said 5%, but you said 60%.
Yeah, because of the fact that, he put on this expert who lied about his credentials, and he lied about having a bachelor's degree. And if I did that here in California, Are you kidding me? The judge would ring me.
Yeah.
And he would ring the expert. Okay. And the judge would probably report me to the state bar and report the expert. That's probably what would happen to me in civil. I don't know.
I'm in the process of reviewing some experts in a case that I have right now, and it's a tough job. It's really difficult. You really have to look beyond their resume and spend some time with them. The last time I retained an expert, I drove some distance and spoke in the expert's office, and then we went out for lunch. So we had a chance to, relax and come down off of our professional, demeanors and talk to each other and get to know each other and ask all kinds of questions. And yeah, that's right. It's a tough job, but you've got to do it right. I agree with you 100%.
I even get depositions of the expert that I'm hiring in different cases to see what they said in order to make sure,
that's what you have to do.
Yeah, it's hard.
I hate doing it, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
It's time consuming. And if you spend a lot of time with a person and they turn out not to be the right expert, you've got to cut and run. So now we go to Jay Hutch, 771. It was a better investigation into Turtle Boy's bus stop than John O'Keefe's death. Crime scene was called OM. Yeah, this goes to, we played it in one of our previous episodes. We played the state police squawk box of the police officers talking back and forth. It's bus 80. Call crime scene. And it's like, come on. Come on. I mean, they didn't even call a crime scene when they found Officer John O'Keefe on Brian Albert's front yard. So that's what this commenter is talking about.
Okay, number 2, Donna Lembo, 4243.
And
I
she's with
knew,
us right now. I'm
yeah,
sorry, she's with us right now.
I knew the KR case would drag on because Massachusetts should never have retried her. From the very first case, it was obvious there was corruption. By doubling down to get a conviction, they only set themselves up for a second trial to expose even more corruption. We'll be seeing these cases continue until everything involving KR and TB are settled. Massachusetts should drop the charges against TV to avoid further embarrassment and unnecessary expense to taxpayers.
Well, there's a motion, the mega motion that was filed by the great Mark Betterow. There's an affidavit supporting it, and now a supplemental affidavit supporting it, and so there is grounds to dismiss the case. The new supplemental affidavit, gives additional evidence and urges the court to definitely hold an evidentiary hearing, and that would be a hearing and a half, and I hope that it's open to us. Here's Calico. There's Whitey down in the corner, in the left-hand corner. There's Whitey. Calico 26 says, Hank has a conflict with Aiden. I could never see him coming back to lose again. He was humiliated with the Karen Reed verdict. So he disagrees with you, Yoli.
I don't know. I guess
know
the court would decide whether there's a conflict in terms of if it's brought up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be up to the court. And there are 80 countries. If you're from a country that is not on the list, let us know. But over the course, mostly of the Karen Reed cases and the associated cases, we've asked people to tell us where you are watching us from. And these 80 countries have had representatives contact us. They're in alphabetical order. If you are from a country that's not on the list, let us know. Now we move on to the Cobberger case. And now I've forgotten whose turn is it.
I'll do the odds.
Okay.
Or did I do the odds on the last one?
That's okay. You go ahead.
I'll do odds. Okay, this is Mama Fired Up. She said, nice. 2 attorneys' analysis of this case is important and matters. I love to watch Yoli wherever she goes. She's a cool chick. Oh,
She's a cool. What about me? What am I, chopped liver?
you're all well. I've always worked with attorneys old school that are old schools like you. So that's
gee, thanks. Let me just stumble off to the home.
No.
Here's number 4, Ocean's Blue T8E. God bless you, attorneys Andrew and Yoli. There I am, for not allowing this injustice to be buried with the souls of those 4 innocent souls. This investigation smelled foul from day one. Look at the law enforcement cop cams and how they contaminated that crime scene. In, out, up, down those stairs with no shoe coverings, no gloves. Brian Cobberger was set up to take the fall to protect this vile Moscow leadership's trafficking ring. I think BK's life and the lives of his family were threatened, and he was forced to plead guilty. Well, we don't know. But the majority. We got some nasty emails. I did delete a couple. If you're going to be nasty, we are going to delete it. So don't waste your time. But the vast majority of our commenters who do comment about the Idaho 4 case have said, stay on the case, keep watching, watch as these documents slowly, and deliberately come out. Keep it up. Keep watching it. So this comment. Really represents the vast majority of our viewers, even though we've gotten some pretty nasty stuff. You can disagree. It's okay. Disagree, but be polite and professional and let us know why we're wrong. I've been told I'm wrong every time I walk into court, the people on the other side of the room think I'm wrong. Right?
On both sides of the issue, if you're pro Burger or Gilter, whatever you want to say, or in the middle, for somebody to think that threats were involved, I mean, look, the one of the family members received a threat via text while they were giving their victim impact statements. And that was shown on, Brian Enton. They received a text, one of the family members, and they were threatening them. And I'm thinking, my goodness, it's on all sides in this case. So is it reasonable to think that Brian Cobberger may have been threatened? Maybe. But he pled guilty, so we're with that. But that doesn't mean that maybe other people were involved or maybe not. But it's the process, the secrecy of this whole process is what bothers me.
Yeah, and it's sad that the temperature in America has gotten to the level that it has, that people feel the need to, participate in an aggravating and hostile manner. I mean, there's just no call for it. 3. Charles.
It's yours, George.
Charles Blithfield, 6182, by dragging out the document release, this is my point. By dragging out the document release, they are producing the opposite effect to what I think they might intend. If the documents are dumped all at once, it will be more difficult to assemble alternate narratives, and within months, the public would lose interest. Yes. By releasing them slowly, pundits have the time to parse them carefully, and public interest will be maintained for longer. That's absolutely true.
Yep.
I said that last week. I said, in my opinion, yes, I know it would be a huge task. It would be a Megillah, but you know what? Go in there, sit down in a conference room, all of you, William Thompson and Ann Taylor and their designees, Ashley Shush Jennings, all of them. Sit down at a conference room table, go through them all, or do it on Zoom. Sit down, go over them, and release them all at once. Bada bing, bada boom. That's it. But,
This is from Joanna Isabella Kozweska.
I'm glad you got that one.
Okay. Why Ann Taylor went MIA? Bill Thompson is yapping right and left.
Well, that's one way to put it. I think we kind of talked about this last time, didn't we? What do you think?
Well, I think Bill Thompson is yapping because he's part of the government, and when you're part of the government, you have, I guess, a duty to talk about it. And one of the first attorneys I worked for said that when you're handling a case against a public entity, you're suing a public entity, you have a duty to talk about it to the media or the press because it's a public entity and the public has a right to know. Now, Ann Taylor was not working for the government. She was working for a private individual. So she doesn't have a duty to talk about anything. And, about what's going on. I mean, she doesn't.
I see what you're saying. People are going to comment down below, oh, yeah, but she was taking a public paycheck, and so she was working for the government. But no, you're right. You're right, because although she was taking a paycheck from the people of the state of Idaho, her client and her duty runs to Brian Cobberger. That's right. Her client. That's her duty. Doesn't matter that the paycheck comes from the state. So I just want to, when you said that, I agreed with you 100%, but I just want to clear up any confusion on that point because, her duty doesn't matter where she's paid, whether, money drops out of the sky or whether, she gets it from anywhere. Her duty runs to Mr. Cobberger, and we talked about this before. It's a slippery slope to start talking about the case. And she has to be extremely careful. She needs to, make sure that she doesn't violate any confidences. We talked about this before. You had pointed out that, well, maybe she could talk in general terms about, some of the policy aspects of the case or some of the motions that are public knowledge. I mean, she could certainly, talk about the DP motions or the motions to suppress or the Franks motion. I mean, she could talk about that, but it's a real slippery slope. And she's certified as a DP attorney. And I understand there's not very many of them in Idaho. And so she needs to be really careful. And she has other big cases now. So as much as I would like to hear her, I think that she's doing the right thing at the risk of getting nasty comments down below. But that's why. I think that's the answer. If you have a better answer, let us know. Wanda Pender says, appreciate you guys continuing to cover this case. And now this is the majority. This is the majority view of our commenters. Appreciate you guys continuing to cover this case because the indiscrepancies are overwhelming. Just the fact that they ignored other DNA at the crime scene is enough for me to question everything, and that's only a drop in the bucket. Thanks, Andrew and Yoli. And I'd like to see more of the Mickey Stein's case. Well, I've been looking. I spent some time on the Mickey Stein's case this week. I'm looking for somebody in Kentucky to come on and join us and explain things. So if you know anyone down there that's, on top of it, it's hard reaching out to the journalists because they kind of put themselves behind a wall. But there's a couple of issues that are out there. The trial date has not been set. There's a motion to change venue, and there's some other issues out there. So we're watching it as soon as there's something on it. I want to do the Mickey Stein's case because, I don't know, it's an intriguing case. It really is an intriguing case. I mean, like I said before, the first time I read about it and then I saw the video of Mickey Stein shooting the judge 9 times, I'm like, open and shut. But Kentucky has that crazy statute, so don't say I'm crazy. It's the crazy statute in Kentucky that says it really defines that it's not murder if the person is operating under extreme emotional disturbance. Is that the word? Extreme emotional distress? Yeah. So don't blame me. Blame the statute and the legislators that wrote it. So that's it. That's it for our comments. The case is about the Idaho 4. Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, and we always mention them in every episode because, we take the tack that we do because we feel that way. Yoli and I have both read. We don't always agree. That's why we're together, because we try and keep each other honest, but we try to remember that it is about them. So, my closing thought is that, I want to keep my eye on the Mickey Stein's case and also the Long Island serial killer case. There was a decision last week. I thought more people would want us to get into the Long Island serial killer case because that goes way back to the 1990s. And how we give him the presumption of innocence, but how is he, if he is the guilty party, how is he able to get away with all that for all those years? He has a wife and a daughter, and I mean, it's just creepy. It's just creepy.
And I'm interested in the DNA stuff. I mean, I know there was a ruling on the DNA. I haven't gotten into it yet, but I will. But yeah, it's interesting. I love talking about serial killers. I know that sounds horrible, but I mean, I'm interested in that area. I mean, I would like to hope that someday people can prevent serial killers from budding or progressing,
Yeah. Although, like yourself, I like to read true crime. Yeah. And I remember way back in the Charles Manson days, people said, well, let's keep him alive. We'll learn so much from him. I dare anybody to tell me one thing we learned from Charles Manson other than that he was crazy. And yes, I read Vincent Bugliosi's book and others. And, I don't think anybody learned anything from reading about him.
Well, mental illness, I mean, that's always something to learn about. And people kind of don't talk about that. And I think a lot of crimes involve mental illness. Like I told you on that Irina case, the woman that was stabbed in the bus, he was mentally ill. He'd been in and out of prison or jail. And I mean, mental illness is a thing. And I bet you Irina would have talked to him if given the chance. She'd have a chance.
Yeah, you're right. That's a horrible case. It's a horrible case and a sad case. And the mental illness epidemic is really awful in this case. But what do we really learn from these things? I think the lesson from Charles Manson is he had a horrible upbringing. He had a terrible, terrible, terrible start to life. I mean, those of us who had, a good upbringing have to thank our lucky stars, and I do every day. But it's not only that, it's the drugs. Oh, my God. He and his girls, his family, and the guys, just, it was all about the drugs. So... Yeah, I agree with you.
Hallucinogenics, especially hallucinogenics.
Yeah. So we're getting some suggestions, and we will follow it up. And Kathy Bennis, I hope I said your name right. She loves our live shows. I don't know if we're going to do them much longer. Next week, we're going to have Harsh. We'll see how that goes. Tell all your friends, because I honestly don't know about doing the lives. It's not my favorite thing. I love having an audience. I love working with Yoli. I love talking about these cases, but I don't know if it's the best format for us. So let us know. Let us know. All right. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. Well, what I will say, the two outrageous things about the Karen Reed case was, I told you that they put up that expert who didn't have a BA, and he said he did. And then Ms. Dever.
Don't call me Dever. It's Dever.
Dever.
Remember that?
Yeah. You know, her testimony was just awful. And she resigned, and I feel bad that it affected her employment, but they got to screen officers better. They got to really, really screen them better.
Yep, I agree. Why don't we let our viewers suggest the emoji? I always ask you and put you on the spot. Do our viewers have the first viewer that has an idea for an emoji? If you've been with us through the whole episode, let us know. I really don't have any ideas at all for an emoji. So does anybody have an emoji? If we always ask people to, if you have been with us through the entire episode, number one, we thank you for that. But number two, leave us an emoji. Anybody have an idea? Going once. Going twice. All right, it's up to us, I guess. It's up to us. Let's see. We covered the Aiden Carney case a little bit. We covered Karen Reed's case a little bit. We talked about an affidavit.
Cobberger a little bit. So how about cleaning supplies?
Cleaning supplies?
Yeah, because you want to clean it up. I think everybody wants to clean things up. I mean, it's
Donna Lembo wants us to use the scales of justice, and Ben Aaron, what are those, ghosts? Is that what those are? Are those ghosts?
It's like, oh my God.
Brenna, who's a regular, and we appreciate you, Brenna. Brenna wants pink hearts.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh my God, what are we going to do here? Look what I've started. What are those? I don't even know what those are. Full melt hash values. I can't even figure out what that is. My eyes are watering a little bit. Is that like a rat? Is that a rat?
Squirrel? No, it's a squirrel.
It's a squirrel. Why? Full melt. Why a squirrel? Why are we going with a squirrel? I don't get it. Esmeralda, scales of justice. Okay, so we have 2 votes for a scale of justice. Ben Aaron. What the? Is that another ghost of a different color? Esmeralda.
Skunk. Oh, my God.
Esmeralda. Okay, so now we have 3 votes for the scales of justice.
Domestic engineer. Skunk.
Skunk. Why a skunk? We have 2 votes for a skunk. We have JK wants a skunk, and domestic engineer. I thought domestic engineer said a skunk. Full melt hash values likes the skunks. Brenna, we love you too. She loves our lives. I kind of like skunk. What do you think? Skunk. Do they have skunks?
Yeah, they do.
Mm-hmm. So skunk. If you've been with us for the whole episode, give us a skunk emoji. We'll take. And you know what? Where I live out kind of in the boonies. We see and smell skunks. My last dog, thank God, my dog I have now, little Lily, who's lying on the floor over there. She stays in the house mostly, but my last dog got into skunks twice, and
yeah,
what a smell. They're not voting for skunks. They're telling you is skunks, but I vote skunks. Yeah, we're going with skunks. Skunks, because there's stinky things in every case you covered today. All right, that's enough. That is quite enough, don't you think?
Yeah.
All right, Donna Lembo likes skunks. Well, you can have my share of them, especially when my dog got into them. Oh, my God. All right, Yoli, thank you very much. Thank you for all of our viewers. And please remember to be nice to people no matter where you see them. You might see them in the grocery store, the drugstore, wherever you see them, but be nice. You don't know what people are going through. And please be nice down in the comment section. We got a couple of nasty grams this week, and yeah, I did delete them, so don't be surprised. You deleted my comment. Yeah, I did, but be nice. Don't tell the other person that they're an idiot. Tell us what you think. What are the facts that you know? What is the law that you know? What have you seen that we're not taking into account? And tell us, because a 2-year-old can tell you you're this. Advance Beyond It, thank you. Have a great week.
Whether you are in the grocery store, the gas station, or anywhere else, please remember to be kind to people. You don't know what they're going through. And the same goes for our comment section. We want you to comment, but be nice, be kind, be positive if you can. And thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Have a good one.
So everybody's voting.